please excuse the state of this plant. It's quite sensitive to water, so what I do is I usually wait for it to start flopping, and then I give it water, and then it slowly comes back up. So it's in the flop stage, but it's gonna come back up, don't worry. So I did a hoopoe with some peaches, and the goal of this was really to improve my style. I sometimes find that I get too lost in the details. I've also been very inspired by green and orange. If you saw my last video with the poppy fields, that had a green and orange ness to it, and also with the little bonus cantaloupe painting. I don't know if you can see it here. Yeah, also with this papaya and papaya leaf bird. We've got some green and orange. And with the apricots, also green and orange. I am a little bit slow with my progression. I'm trying not to get too hard on myself. Sometimes I feel, in general, very lost and aimless with my life sometimes. So I wasn't planning on it, but after the music time lapse, I'll be talking more about how these feelings impacted the painting and influenced the composition and colors and so on. So it's a little vulnerable, but I hope that you'll enjoy the story behind this painting. So as I mentioned in the beginning, I've been feeling a bit lost lately, and I wanted to share a little bit about the emotions that are behind this piece, and how it affected the decisions I made, including the colors that I chose. And also I wanted to talk a little bit about the composition, particularly the peaches, and then finally the symbolism of the hoopoe bird. So starting with the colors, in general, I'm quite stuck in my head. I think a lot. My mind is very active, and I've learned to accept that this is who I am, and so I try to find ways to ground myself. Green and orange for me, and probably for a lot of people, are very grounding colors. Green, of course, is the color of plants. When I feel overwhelmed in my life, I go out in my garden and just watch the plants. I know that sounds a little bit sad, but I genuinely feel much calmer in their presence. And then orange for me is very close to brown, and the color of earth, especially certain kinds of earth. The earth that I see in Portugal a lot is very orange, and I think that's why in general I've been drawn to this color combo. But also I tweaked the shades a little bit. The green in the background is not such an earthy green, it's more of a light airy green. And I wanted that light airy color because although I feel at moments very heavy and very dark, there's also a part of me that feels very hopeful, very light, very inspired. I also want to still feel like I can spread my wings. And so that's sort of also why I chose a bird. And before I get to the bird though, with the peaches, so I sort of abstracted the peach plant because they're not a vine, but I chose it to be more viney because I wanted to have a more lanky, droopy look and feeling, because that's sort of how I feel sometimes, and what people might feel when they're trying to strive and climb, which is also what a vine is trying to do, is trying to climb and go upwards and maybe towards the sun, towards just a higher place. But nonetheless, even if there is this like lankiness to it, the plant still bore fruit, there's still fruit. And that's sort of me reminding myself that even if I feel very droopy and very low, there is still abundance around me, and there is still growth, and that life is still sweet and juicy like a fruit. And then finally with the hoopoe bird. So the hoopoe bird, I was surprised to see that so many cultures and civilizations have had the hoopoe bird as some kind of symbol. Some symbols were good and positive and others were more negative. But anyways, the one that I was attracted to was the Persian interpretation, and that is that the hoopoe is a symbol of virtue. And it just reminded me that some of the most remarkable people I've ever met, I was never wowed by their material wealth or their status or how far they are in any kind of job, or even what job they had. And actually, some or most of these people, they found themselves in incredibly unlucky circumstances. Some of them lost everything, and they were continuously challenged by life. But what was so remarkable about them was how they were still so gracious. They were still so generous and open. And so for me, these people are incredibly virtuous. I like that the hoopoe bird is looking up. Similar to the peaches, they're also trying to go upward. And then another thing I noticed while I was painting was that I didn't have anything in the top part of the composition. It's very bare, and maybe that's just because I don't know what is at the top. There is also, for me, a kind of beauty in that empty space. So that was a little background story on this piece. Thank you for listening and being here. Let me know if you have any similar or different interpretations of this birdo, and I'll see you next time.